Outside. Suchanga followed the mountain road and continued to walk towards the hut. Not long after walking, far away, you could hear the roar of fists like dragons and tigers in the sky above the hut, and the stirring of the wind. Hunting and hunting, which was deafening. Looking at it, it turned out that Huang Jiolong and several of them were still boxing there. However, Zhang Zongbao is missing. In the evening, after Huang Jiolong went back to his residence, he found that there was no one sending the treasure map as Yunhua Fairy said, so he led Hu Han and a few of them to continue to come here to fight. Suchanga watched from afar, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth, and walked over quickly. When he walked to the door, he glanced up at Huang Jiolong and the others, and mocked, "Yo, it's almost late at night, pay attention to rest, don't accidentally get tired." After that, without waiting for them to reply, he directly opened the door and entered the house, followed by bang. With a bang, he closed the door vigorously. Huang Jiolong's 4 angry faces turned blue and purple. The fist also clenched with a clenching sound, and the sound of bone and joint brittleness was breathtaking. "Call me. Keep fighting. I don't believe he can sleep peacefully." Huang Jiolong gritted his teeth and roared, continuing to lead everyone to punch. In the house, Suchanga directly chose to enter the Xianhuang Pagoda of heaven and earth. The tower is a space of its own, even if the roof is big, you can't hear it. Huang Jiolong, how they love, tired them to death. And there are 2 wonderful beauties in the tower. Hide in the small building into a unified one, call him spring, summer, and autumn and winter, cool. Suchanga laughed heartily. Gongzi. Master. Lier and Xiaoyu greeted, and immediately smelled the faint fragrance on his body. This fragrance is very clear, like a blooming osmanthus flower, charming and fragrant. Especially, Xiaoyu, the nose is sensitive, and the perception of this fragrance is more sensitive, smelling a mouthful, suddenly feeling full of transparency, 100 remains comfortable. Suchanga took Lianer in his arms and said for a while, and then chatted with Xiaoyu for a while, without wasting time, took out the 80 million top grade spirit stones, ran the quenching spirit secret technique, and began to remove impurities. Zhao, Zhao, Zha. A familiar voice sounded. Soon, all of these spirit stones transformed into sparkling superb spirit stones. Next, Suchanga began to remove impurities from that piece of onyx divine gold. This onyx divine gold was the material for casting the holy soldier, and now it had accumulated another piece, which was one step closer to promoting the quasi-holy soldier to a real holy soldier. After a few breaths, all the impurities in the agate divine gold were removed and transformed into the highest grade agate divine gold. Then, Suchanga absorbed some spirit stones to replenish spiritual power, and continued to remove impurities from the 180 sunstones and moonstones, as well as 888 shining light stones. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. His movements were fast, and in less than a tea time, the treasures gave in. Wang Lishan had all risen to a higher level. After doing this, he looked at Xiaoyu and Lier, and said with a faint smile, "It's dark, it's time to go to bed." The time in the pagoda corresponds to the outside world, and when it is dark outside, it is also dark here. A blush appeared on Xiaoyu and Lier's cheeks. There is only one bed in this cozy cottage, which was made of logging at that time, and the space is a little cramped, but Xiaoyu turned into a teacup dog, lying at the head of the bed, and he can sleep. As for whether Huang Jiolong from the outside world found out that he was not in the hut, Su Chang'e was not worried. In the perception of Huang Jiolong and others, there is no aura of cultivation on their body. Then their divine sense sweeps into the room. Naturally they cannot perceive any breath, and subconsciously think that they are inside. Time flies, and the night is fleeting. In the early morning, Su Chang'e opened his eyes and noticed that the huge force in his body was rolling, like the unfathomable deep sea, and the cultivation that had broken through during this time had already been very firm and solid under the action of the Xianlong Tsangpa pendant. I have to say that sleeping can consolidate cultivation. This feeling is really cool. Beside her, Lear also opened her beautiful eyes and said in surprise, "Gongzi, my cultivation seems to be stable." At the head of the bed, Xiaoyu also turned into a human form and said with great joy, "My cultivation seems to be stable, it's great." Su Chang'e smiled, pointed to the pendant hanging on his waist, and said, "This is my newly acquired treasure." As for the function, it didn't take long for the two women to understand the function of this pendant. Suddenly, they were surprised and delighted, and their hearts were very happy. "Gongzi, I didn't expect that there was such a way to stabilize the foundation. It was simply a lazy gospel." Lianer's face was rosy and joyful. "Master, this is also amazing." Xiaoyu looked at Su Chang'e with a pair of beautiful eyes and smiled. "I'll go first, I still have something to do today." Su Chang'e put on his coat, pushed the door, and prepared to leave. "Those treasures that eliminated impurities last night will also be given to the beautiful master. Those treasures will definitely be able to subsidize more valuable treasures back, and the most important thing is that the thunder array map, what array will be subsidized back?" Seeing that he was about to leave again, Xiaoyu and Lear suddenly felt reluctant in their hearts, and they all retained, "Gongzi, can you stay for a while? We really want to stay with you for a little longer, and I want to smell your body more." They are fascinated by the clear taste, refreshing, and stable cultivation. Su Chang'e understood that this was equivalent to having Wi-Fi on his body. Isn't there an old saying that liking someone is like having Wi-Fi on him? That's probably it. He was never pretentious, so he didn't refuse, and stayed with Xiaoyu and Lianer for a while. It wasn't until the sun rose and the morning dew evaporated that Su Chang'e returned to the hut outside. Pushing open the door, he immediately saw Huang Jiolong and the four of them still boxing here, fighting with a fierce wind and thunder, and the heat was hot. Seeing Su Chang'e come out, Wang Wei glanced at him contemptuously and sneered, "Yo, little transparent, did you sleep well last night? P.S. Thank you for the inspiration capsule sent by." Confused God opens the door. After lunch, yesterday, and the milk tea sent by, very lucky Meglia, the crab is big. Others were not written due to space, but the little author remembered them all. In addition, please ask you again, which do you think is delicious with or without sugar and tomato scrambled eggs? Treating his words, Su Chang'e didn't even look at him, and directly turned his head over, as if ignoring him. "You." Wang Wei's brain was furious, and his fists clenched and clicked. "This is no one in sight." When the others saw this scene, they suddenly became angry, and there was a fire in their hearts. "Originally, last time I punched the cotton and touched a nose of ash, but now again, this little transparent is inevitably too bad." Here, Su Chang'e is actually not clean in his heart. These people are like toads, they don't bite him, they are disgusting, they really live for a long time, and they are absolute. But the next moment, his eyes suddenly lit up and he thought of something. "Hey, this is the chance to send it to the door. Suchanga suddenly realized that they consciously came here to punch, just like consciously lining up to send themselves chances. After all, if he wanted to cut off the opportunity before, he had to sneak into the Tiantai Peak with great effort. And now? There is no need at all, they themselves have sent them to the door, and they directly let the Dark Soul Emperor count them as. This is cool with a capital letter. He secretly took out half of the spirit stone, and in an instant, an extra grain of sand appeared in his hand. Senior, glance at these people to see if there is an opportunity. The Dark Soul Emperor began to sweep away. His eyes swept one by one, deducing carefully, and finally found that the recent opportunities of Huang Jiulong, Hu Han, Zhang Xikong II, and the three were far away in other realms. Although those opportunities are good, they are a bit far, and the time cost is not proportional to the gain. Just as he frowned, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he deduced a very close chance. That was Wang Wei's chance. Young man, Wang Wei was blessed with a cup of tea after a tea time, and he felt that the Iron Lock Bridge seemed to have its own chance, so he went back to the road. When he walked to the Iron Lock Bridge, he swept his head down, found a storage bag dropped on the ground, picked it up and looked at it, and saw that there were 50 million top-grade spirit stones in it. The spirit stone was dropped by someone else. He smiled, and quietly took it for himself. When Suchanga heard it, he was overjoyed. Although these 50 million spirit stones are not much, they are expensive to pick up for nothing. Nima, these four idiots are really lining up to send off the chance. Well, it's not good, I'm overdrawn again, I'm going to sleep. The Dark Soul Emperor couldn't do it again at this time. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Suchanga frowned. Why can't he calculate it every time? It's also too unsustainable. Soon, the Soul Emperor fell into a deep sleep. However, Suchanga took half a spirit stone to wake him up. Then he asked, Senior, why do you always overdraft every time you count a game? It feels like you're always sick. Why? The corner of the Dark Soul Emperor's mouth swept a touch of bitterness, and he said helplessly, You don't know something. This method of ordering the master, peeping into the fate of others, is unacceptable to heaven, and the consumption of cultivators is extremely large, and I calculate more thoroughly. Every time, much more thorough than Yunhua Ferry, and the consumption is undoubtedly greater, understand? Suchanga suddenly realized. The Dark Soul Emperor suddenly guessed something at this time, and said, You should want me to teach you this method, right? You are still too young. This means of spying on fate, through the heavens and earth, the lowest must be a quasi-saint level, to cultivate and use, and your current cultivation is still far behind. Otherwise, I can consider passing on your life master inheritance. What I said, so that Suchanga didn't know what to say. It's worthy of being an old silver coin. His brain is more flexible than anyone. I asked him, he can draw inferences. It's really troublesome. Suchanga secretly said in his heart. Immediately, he let the Dark Soul Emperor breathe a little more fresh air, and finally fell into a deep sleep. Then, Suchanga raised his foot and prepared to go to the Iron Lock Bridge, to pick up money. However, when he was about to leave, he rolled his eyes, turned to Wang Wei and the others, and explained, You guys continue to fight here, don't go anywhere else, otherwise I will look down on you. The words came out. Wang Wei suddenly jumped, pointed at his nose, and cursed, If I leave half a step, then I am a dog. Who Han and Huang Jiulong, as well as Zhang Zongbao, were also blushing and had thick necks, trembling with anger. By the way, Su Chang'e added, when you turn back, you persuade Zhang Zongbao not to be discouraged and continue to come over and fight. Punch a hairy punch, give me a chance to come over consciously, ha ha ha. Huang Jiulong jumped to his feet, pointed at his nose, and sneered, this is what you said, don't regret it. Su Chang'e was too lazy to pay attention to him so much, raised his feet and left. It didn't take long. Su Chang'e came to the iron lock bridge, looked around, and sure enough found that there was a storage bag dropped on the edge. The bag looked bulging, and there was a shining light flashing at the seal. When I picked it up and looked at it, I saw that there were really 50 million top-grade spirit stones inside, a lot. It's cool to pick it up for nothing. He smiled heartily, immediately removed these spirit stones, transformed into extremely high-grade spirit stones, and then raised his feet and left here. Just when Su Chang'e went to the small courtyard to find Yi Qingyao, in the middle of the back mountain hut, Wang Wei suddenly had an inspiration, feeling that the iron lock bridge seemed to have some chance waiting for him. He was itching in his heart and wanted to go and see, but when he remembered what he had just said, he suddenly felt as if he had drawn himself a prison and could not go. He hesitated for a while, then finally gritted his teeth and chose not to go. Front hill, small courtyard. Su Chang'e arrived here, looked down, and found that the door was still the same as before. It was concealed. He smiled and pushed the door in. Little Song, you're here. What came into view was not the beautiful master, but the master mother of Qianying. Su Chang'e frowned and said, Master, what about master? Shui Hongyao looked in the direction of the main peak and said with a smile, there is a sword immortal out of the gate, and the sect master has ordered that the Lord of the Nine Peaks peak will go over to celebrate. There was also an episode in between. Tiantai Peak Lord Du Sihai and Law Enforcement Peak Lord Bingyu colluded and did not agree to Yi Qingyao's participation in this celebration meeting. After all, her cultivation was so low, far inferior to that sword immortal. Although it was justified, the two vetoes of the two of them combined were vetoed by the suzerainty. Knowing this, Su Chang'e glanced at the main peak, nodded, and then asked, More, Master, what is the cultivation of the sword immortals? Shui Hongyao said, the lowest are all immortal kings. Huh? Su Chang'e's pupils froze, a little incredulous, and asked, the lowest are all immortal kings? Master, so powerful? What do you think? Shui Hongyao smiled delicately. Su Chang'e asked again, what realm is that immortal king? Shui Hongyao said with a smile, you can't cultivate, naturally I don't understand. After the great realm of the ascension period is completed, it will usher in the life and death calamity. There are 9 life and death calamities, also known as the Ascension 9 tribulations, surviving the life and death calamity means ascending successfully, but it can be called the immortal king. And those sword immortals are at least in this realm. Sendai, Zifu, Hinayana, Ascension, Life and Death, Avatar, Mahayana. Su Chang'e suddenly understood. But his eyes suddenly froze and said, so this is the sword immortal? A sword immortal is so strong. Then further up, the land sword god, the peerless swordsman, the red dust swordsman, must not be stronger? As for the sect master's close disciples, wouldn't that be stronger? He calculated his current cultivation, and after a while, he thought in his heart, it turns out that I still have quite a distance. The Star Yuan realm belongs to the Star Soul realm, and after the Star Soul realm, there is also a martial god realm. This is followed by Sendai, Shifu. So, it's a little bit worse. And he is also calculating his current combat strength. Although the green dragon moon sword can ignore the cultivation to kill the immortal king, but those sword immortals are the lowest, are immortal kings. I can cut the lowest one, and then go up. It can only be said that the sect is too strong, and it is worthy of being the number one force in the Kanglan realm. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Hey, wait a minute, if I replenish the spiritual power in my body and let Lear return to the Holy Realm, won't the tournament be able to win the position of the Holy Sun? As soon as this thought flashed in his mind, he shook his head on the spot. No, although there are many auras, they are only enough for the mercy to last for a quarter of an hour, and the sword immortals are 3 million. And the land sword god is full of 100,000, and there should be fewer peerless swordsmen and swordsmen, but how can I say that there must be thousands of closed disciples, right? So many strong opponents, far from being able to defeat them all in just a quarter of an hour, too many, a little difficult to deal with. Xiao Gij. Shui Hongyao suddenly spoke, interrupting his thoughts. Shui Fengyu hand supported his chin, wondering, why are you here this time? Su Chang'e thought for a while, and felt that it seemed that it was good to give it to the master and mother, and the money of their mother and daughter should be shared. Immediately, he said, come and honor master. While saying, he took out 130 million ultimate spirit stones. That's exactly the 80 million plus 50 million number. Shui Hongyao was stunned, and a deep surprise crossed her beautiful eyes. Xiao Gij actually gave himself something again? Thinking that it was just sent yesterday, and sent again today, this fast. Frequency does not have to gasp. Oh my God, he wouldn't come really, would he? This is... Oh beasts. What a little beast. She scolded with a smile, and even accepted the spirit stone. Her pretty face bloomed like a flower moon, and her smile was like a flower. Ding. You sent 130 million ultimate spirit stones, and the tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 130,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 139 million ultimate spirit stones. Woohoo, take off. That's a full 139,000 quadrillion ultimate spirit stones, cool. Su Chang'e's face was full of red light. This time, the spirit stones will not replenish the spiritual chi first, and they will all be used to improve their cultivation. At present, it is the first thing to grasp and improve cultivation. Here, Shui Hongyao looked at the 130 million spirit stones in her hand, and couldn't help but tremble slightly on her wrists. This 130 million spirit stone was packed in a storage bag, and it was extremely heavy in her hand, and she only felt deep excitement and disbelief. Just as she was thinking about this, she suddenly found that the white light flashed in front of her, and Xiao Gij handed over a blazing thing. Master, you definitely don't have the materials to cast the Saint Soldier in your hand, right? Then I will give you this piece of onyx divine gold. Huh? Shui Hongyao was stunned, her white and crystal pretty face was full of disbelief, and her cherry small mouth was even more open, almost able to stuff a sausage. This little song, this is really the rhythm of animals. Master? Seeing that she was stunned, Su Chang'e hurriedly shook his hand in front of her eyes and said, don't be stunned, give you something, take it. Quickly. This, good. Shui Hongyao was able to return to his senses and took the onyx divine gold in his hand. This onyx divine gold, smooth and delicate, like the white jade of the upper grade, she was a little stunned, for fear of falling to the ground and stumbling. He sent me so much, is it really the same as I thought, for, Shui? Hong Yao thought about it, and a crimson color could not help but appear on her pretty face. Ding! You sent a piece of onyx divine gold, and the tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 140,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Outer Heaven Dao Stone. Suchanga checked the system entry, and it was indeed an excellent material for casting holy soldiers. Followed by. He shot out again, directly took out a storage ring, and said, Master, as a woman, you must like pearlescent gemstones, right? These are 180 moonstones and sunstones, and 888 radiant stones, all of which are given to you. Take them. Huh? Shui Hongyao was completely stunned. She looked at so many brilliant gems in the bag, her heartbeat involuntarily accelerated, and her body pounded, like an elk impacting, and couldn't stop beating. My God, I gave myself so many gems that I couldn't stand him. You, Xiao Gij, should you be really, like me? Her cheeks flushed rarely, and she almost asked. The last, like me, is just a silent recitation in the heart, and I can't say it. Then, I took the storage ring and looked at the gems inside, and I couldn't put it down. Ding! You sent 180 moonstone sunstones, 888 radiant stones, tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 150,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Yin Yang Stone *180, Enhancement. Stone *888. Yin Yang Stone? Fortified stones? Suchanga was slightly stunned, not understanding what these things were for. The system sounds. Yin and Yang Stone, all things bear the Yin to embrace the Yang, which can incorporate the Yang Qi of heaven and earth into the body, transform it into the Qi of essence, and nourish and recharge. Strengthening. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8b. Stone, a strengthening material, which is a strange stone that strengthens weapons, and can be used when casting weapons. Seeing this entry, Suchanga only understood the Yin Yang stone, and the strengthening stone only thought about it after thinking about it. The beautiful master once said that the weapons in this world are divided into two casting methods, one is ordinary casting, and the other is enhanced casting. Ordinary casting is the fusion of various materials and casting them like the usual quenching method. But strengthening is different, there are many processes, each process is very exquisite, each of these processes need to use strengthening stones to strengthen the hardness of weapon materials, so that the weapons created are far sharper and more terrifying than ordinary weapons. Take the divine weapon as an example, the same material, ordinary casting can only hit Xian-level divine weapons at most, but with the addition of strengthening stones to strengthen casting, the weapon that is punched out is a heaven-level divine weapon. Thinking of this, Suchanga was overjoyed. In this way, when the time comes to build the holy soldier will definitely be stronger. Next, he took out another formation map and said, Master, that dog cage yesterday was too disgusting. If you have a formation, put a formation in the dog cage, he just dies, and can't take you. It just so happens that I have a Thunder formation map here, you take it. Without waiting for Shui Hongyao to reply, Su Chang'e directly held up her snowskin jade hand and placed the thunder extinction array diagram in her soft palm. Little song. Shui Hongyao didn't know what to say. It turned out that he was still worried about yesterday's incident, and today. He quickly prepared a talisman formation for himself. For such a little song for the sake of themselves, let people thinking of heaven and earth, choking alone. At this moment, a question suddenly crossed her heart: how could Xiao Gij suddenly have so many treasures? She asked this doubt. Xiao Gij, where did you get these treasures? Su Chang'e smiled lightly and said, Master, have you forgotten? It's all from Wanglishan Waterfall Cave. I emptied that, didn't you notice? Shui Hongyao suddenly remembered. Last night I just came back and didn't pay attention. It turned out that Xiao Gij had scavenged the place. What a relief. And after he finished looting, he didn't keep one, he gave it all to himself. And he didn't hide it, which was really. Shui Hongyao suddenly choked a little, and her eyes were red. Here, after sending out the thunder formation map, Su Chang'e's mind, the next subsidy also arrived on time. Ding. You sent the thunder array map, tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 160,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 8 murderous law array. P.S. I forgot to wish everyone a happy Mid-Autumn Festival yesterday. It just so happens that today is still the Mid-Autumn Festival holiday, and the little author wishes everyone a happy Mid-Autumn Festival this time. I wish everyone success in their wishes, all the best, a bright future, and a happy return to school. 8 murder law formation? Su Chang'e's heart moved, and he was overjoyed. This thing he felt extremely terrifying just by hearing the name. The system sounds. 8 fierce law array, Taiku fierce array, once placed, can instantly block the land around thousands of miles, trap the opponent into the formation, and there are 8 ancient fierce beasts hidden in the depths of the formation. Sky-devouring gluttony, sea dragon whale, split heavenly dragon whale, split heavenly crocodile, Dead Sea man-eating crocodile, 9-tailed sky fox, Shantian tyrannosaurus, thunder sea pterodactyl, Chien sky bat. When the prey is perceived, 8 primeval fierce beasts will appear in unison, and once they appear, they will rush up in an instant and divide the living people to eat. Another note, the 8 ancient fierce beasts have extremely wide vision, extremely high appetite, will not appear easily, only encounter the prey they are interested in, will appear, and this formation also has a castrated version of 8 fierce array. The host obtains the ultimate version. Groove? Su Chang'e was slightly stunned, and immediately joy fell from the sky. It is equivalent to saying that I not only obtained an extremely powerful formation, but also gave away 8 primeval ferocious beasts? He felt like he was making them. But the next moment, he also noticed the separate note of the system entry. After thinking about it for a while, I immediately understood. That is to say, under normal circumstances, when encountering garbage prey, these fierce beasts are too lazy to bird, and only when they encounter high realm prey, these fierce beasts will have the interest in eating. That is, good eat to death, lie dies, and does not eat. I don't know what level of prey they will be interested in. Is the Immortal king enough? Su Chang'e touched his chin and guessed. Look at system space. I saw a formation map filled with endless killing aura suspended there, runes surrounded by runes, electric arcs flowing, and you didn't need to get close to feel the killing aura that rushed to your face, ancient, barbaric, and bloody. Next, he said goodbye to his master and returned to the hut. Shui Hongyao saw that he was leaving, and originally wanted to keep it, but thought that he might not be able to come to him next time. After all, he wanted to be an animal, and he couldn't help but feel a stir in his heart and didn't keep it. Su Chang'e went back to the hut. Before he got closer, he saw Huang Jiulong and a few of them still boxing there, but Hu Han was gone. He thought for a while he should have gone back to persuade Zhang Zongbao. And for these fools, he didn't say much, and went straight into the hut. Close the door and go directly into the system space. In front of him is a huge golden mountain made of spirit stones, which looks undulating with the naked eye, like a mountain range that connects the sky. And the visual senses are extremely terrifying. Take another look at the fairy queen's corpse, still lying there. I don't know if I woke up. Retracting his gaze, he covered the spirit stone mountain with his hands, and began to absorb it. Buzz. There was a fluctuation in the air, and the spiritual energy contained in the spirit stone entered the body at an incredible speed, and the body was indescribably comfortable for an instant, like a river rolling into the body. Active, circulating, and instilling in every meridian and root bone. In the end, all of them were poured into the 12 Lives Palace. In an instant, the aura on his body climbed step by step, and his cultivation was like riding on a rocket, rubbing skyrocketing. Boom. Breakthrough. Star Monarch Realm 1 Heavy Heaven. Star Monarch Realm Triple Heaven. Star Monarch Realm 5 Heavens. Star Monarch Realm 7 Heavens. Star Monarch Realm 9 Heavens. The soaring of cultivation was unexpected by the fairy queen's female corpse. In the distance, her mouth opened sharply, and before she had time to be shocked, the next moment the rolling aura was instilled, another layer of shackles in Su Chang'e's body was directly blasted away, and the cultivation was unimpeded, straight to the yellow dragon, and reached the Star King realm. Boom. Breakthrough again. Star King realm is a heavy heaven. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Star King realm Triple Heaven. Star King realm 5 Heavens. Star King realm 7 Heavens. Star King realm 9 Heavens. Shoo. The fairy queen corpse gasped, shocked from the inside out, looked at him. Stunned. Oh my God, absorbing so many spirit stones at once, is this still human? Even if he didn't dare to absorb so many spirit stones at a time, he would be burst. She didn't know that Su Chang'e's dantian was like a sea, and could contain vast aura, not to mention that his dantian had already been transformed into a higher-level life palace, crushing her 10 streets. However, at this time, Su Chang'e was still breaking through. Boom. Breakthrough again. Crazy breakthrough. Star Mood 1 Heaven. Star Heart Realm Triple Heaven. Star Heart Realm 5 Heavens. Star Heart Realm 7 Heavens. Star Heart Realm 9 Heavens. At the same time as the breakthrough, Su Chang'e's physical strength also skyrocketed. 3.1 billion caddies. 3.2 billion caddies. 3.4 billion gene. 3.5 billion caddies. After finishing, he withdrew his palm, only to feel the surging qi and blood in his body, the majestic power rolling, and the strength skyrocketed. This feeling of being full of power made him shout, "So cool! Cool! Vigorously produce a miracle, such a terrifying physical strength, a punch down can definitely blast a miracle." The boss of the fairy queen corpse in the distance with her mouth open, was no longer able to speak. At this time all the spirit stones had already absorbed more than half, and only a small part remained. Suchanga did not choose to continue to break through, but used it to replenish the life palace. After a few breaths, the spiritual power inside the life palace was filled like a raging torrent, and the waves were turbulent. By now, there were still thousands of massive spirit stones left. He picked it up and put it in a storage bag, then exited the system space. Immediately afterwards, he entered the Shanhuang Pagoda of Heaven and Earth. Mercy, I'll sleep. Gongzi, I will serve you. Mercy obediently took a fan and fanned it for him. An hour is fleeting. After sleeping under the service of Mercier, the cultivation that had risen just now was directly consolidated. Then there was nothing to do. Suchanga and the two women had some fun and played. In the evening, he de-wived the remaining 2/5 of the cold pheasant frost and gave it to the two women. Time goes by, and the next day comes. In the morning, Suchanga exited the Shanhuang Pagoda of Heaven and Earth and immediately heard the sound of violent punches coming from above the house. When he pushed the door and saw it, Zhang Zongbao really came to punch again. Yo, good morning everyone. Suchanga looked at them like a fool and said, with a grin. Huang Jiolong and the 5 people didn't know how, they always felt that his smile was a little hairy. But they quickly came to their senses. We are the ones who make him hair. What kind of hair do we make? Zhang Zongbao broke his mouth and cursed, Nimas, Xiao transparent, I tell you, wait for the tournament, you don't need senior brother Huang to make a move, I will punch you to death, do what you say. Suchanga's left ear went in and out of his right ear, and said with a faint smile, then you want to punch me to death? One punch can't die. Zhang Zongbao looked stunned, as if his brain was stuck. And he became distracted. But soon he reacted, punched Suchanga Ziliwu twice, and sneered, nonsense. One punch can't be done, then I'll punch again. Ha ha ha. Su Changa was too lazy to bird him, and directly took out half of the spirit stone and called the Dark Soul Emperor. The next moment, the Dark Soul Emperor appeared in the form of a grain of sand. Senior, these people are lining up to send off the opportunity, do you say? It's awesome? Suchanga asked. The Dark Soul Emperor smiled and said, Mother, I have lived for thousands of years, and I have never seen anything like this. He didn't talk nonsense either, and immediately began to deduce Zhang Zongbalai. Yesterday, only a few of them deduced Huang Jiolong, except for Zhang Zongbao. And now he just happened to send it to the door. After about a quarter of an hour, the deduction was completed. The Dark Soul Emperor's eyes lit up fiercely, and he said in a deep voice, Young man, this opportunity is a little different, it belongs to an investment in the future. Invest? Suchanga's heart moved. How to invest? Invest in others, weaken Zhang Zongbao, and improve yourself. The Dark Soul Emperor explained with a smile, and also said the main point, at noon today. Zhang Zongbao had something to go to Qingyun Peak, passing by a birch forest. In Qingyun Peak, he met a miscellaneous disciple. The disciple was named Zhao Waoqi. When Zhang Zongbao met him, his old injuries recurred, he was falling to the ground vomiting blood, his life was in danger, dying. Seeing someone coming, he struggled to ask Zhang Zongbao to give him a pill. Zhang Zongbao originally did not want to pay attention to this miscellaneous servant. After all, the status of miscellaneous servants is low, and if he dies, he will die. But he can't bear Zhao Waoqi's bitter pleading. Zhang Zongbao casually threw him a lower grade back to the yuan pill. Zhao Waoqi ate it, finally got a breather, was grateful to Zhang Zongbao, and then hurriedly went to ask the alchemist to refine the life-saving pill for himself. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Zhang Zongbao didn't take it seriously and left, but what he didn't know was that this miscellaneous servant was not an ordinary person, but a person with the bloodline of the ancient great demon Pishio, and the upper limit of qualifications was far beyond ordinary people, but Zhao Waoqi did not know his bloodline. Before the tournament, Zhao Waoqi stimulated the power of the bloodline by chance, and a fierce beast totem divine pattern appeared on his chest. Since then, he has shown amazing talent, won Lin Invincible's appreciation, been accepted into the sect master's seat, promoted to core disciple, and his status has both achieved a huge change. Later, under the vigorous cultivation of Lin Invincible, his cultivation climbed step by step. And a few months later, he soared and entered the level of the Immortal King. Zhao Waoqi's ancestor once fought a vicious battle with the ancient, great demon Pishio in the snowy ice field in ancient times. Successfully killed Pishio, swallowed Pishio's heart, and then bathed in Pishio's blood, refined his muscles and bones, and all his muscles, bones, blood and flesh, became invincible. If it is explosive strength, a pair of iron fists alone can destroy Mount Tai. Actually, Zhao Waoqi is a bloodline atavistic person. After Zhao Waoqi stimulated the power of the bloodline, he rose from then on. And after being promoted to a core disciple, he still remembered Zhang Zongbao's kindness to him at that time. If Zhang Zongbao had not given him a lower grade back to the Yuan pill at that time, he would have died a long time ago. How could he talk about entering the Immortal King? This is a great favor, and it must be rewarded. So he found Zhang Zongbao, respected him, and became Zhang Zongbao's right-hand man. He also gave the status and rewards given to him by the sect master to Zhang Zongbao selflessly, and he was second. Then he released a bold statement: Senior brother Zhang's friend is my friend. Senior brother Zhang's enemy is my enemy. Countless people from the shocked sect no longer dare to be disrespectful to Zhang Zongbao. Young man, you should know how to do it. As soon as the Dark Soul Emperor finished speaking, his face suddenly turned pale and said, well, it's not good, it's overdrawn, and then fell into a deep sleep. Su Chang'e slapped his head and was overjoyed. Sturdy and overjoyed. Obediently, it turns out that this is investing in others and improving yourself. And he also weakened Zhang Zongbao by the hand, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Awesome. His heart was happy, and he turned his head to look at Zhang Zongbao. Gee, you have a good chance, but it's a pity that it's mine. Immediately, he smiled kindly at Huang Jiulong and the others, and said, that, you are waiting for me here, I will go and buy you a few oranges. Huang Jiulong was slightly stunned and said, is this afraid that we are tired? Yes. Su Chang'e turned his head and looked at Zhang Zongbao, and said with a smile, it's time to eat something, wait for me here. Zhang Zongbao smiled coldly, are you afraid and want to please me? Tell you. It's useless for you to please me, I want to eat oranges, and you and I want to kill. Just be happy. One of Su Chang's fans laughed, raised his foot and left. Pishio, Paishio. King Yanfeng. Late days of beautiful rivers and mountains, spring breeze flowers and grass. Fragrant, mud melting flying swallows, sand warm sleeping mandarin ducks. Birch forest. Su Chang'e came here, walking all the way, paying attention to the birch forest along the way. Soon, a thriving birch forest appeared in front of him. The forest is not large, it is 30 or 50 square meters. Su Chang'e's divine sense swept away and found that there was no one here. yes, it's not noon, I'm here a little early. He was also in no hurry, found a forest place, and took a nap freely. Time passes like a white horse, fleeting. At noon, Suchanga felt a figure vomiting blood next to him. The figure seemed to be going to the alchemy hall. Each peak has its own alchemy hall. The figure quickly passed, while covering his mouth and vomiting blood, but soon exhausted, fell in the birch forest, black lips, pale face, on the verge of death. Who can save me? This figure wearing the robes of the sex miscellaneous servants was none other than Zhao Waoqi. His eyes rolled at the moment, his mouth spit blood, and he had few breaths of strength to use. It's time for me to put on the show. Suchanga stood up and walked towards the birch forest, and soon came to Zhao Waoqi. Boom! Before he could speak, his boots were suddenly grabbed by Zhao Waoqi, like grasping a life-saving straw. He beat his spirit and begged bitterly, "Senior Brother Su, please save me, please." Suchanga frowned and said, "Aren't you Junior Brother Zhao? Fast. Wake up." Zhao Waoqi's mouth squirmed with difficulty, his eyes slowly closed, and he was no longer able to speak. Suchanga hurriedly took out a pill from his body and sent it into Zhao Waoqi's mouth. About a short time later, Zhao Waoqi poofed, spat out a mouthful of black bruise, and his eyes gradually recovered a little luster. He hurriedly got up and knelt down on one knee towards Suchanga, bursting into tears, hugging his fists and saying, "Su. Thank you, Senior Brother Su. Your great kindness. Zhao Waoqi will be a cow and a horse in this life, Su." Changa directly waved his hand to interrupt him, and said, "You don't have to be polite to raise your hand. The great difficulty does not die." Zhao Waoqi burst into tears of gratitude, thumped his head a few times, and said, "How can Senior Brother Su say that? You are my Zhao Waoqi's lifesaver. Zhao Waoqi will never forget it. If you find a trace one day in the future, I will never forget your great kindness. Today." Suchanga patted him on the shoulder and said seriously, "If you really want this, then I can't help it." Afterwards, Zhao Waoqi went with great thanks. The elixir that Suchanga gave him was only an ordinary one, but it only temporarily allowed him to recover a breath, and it was still far from a real healing. Zhao Waoqi passed through today to go to the alchemy hall to seek medicine to treat the old injury, but he never thought that he was about to walk to this birch forest, and the old injury suddenly broke out. And the reason why Suchanga didn't give him a stronger elixir was that it was easy to expose something. Looking at Zhao Waoqi's figure leaving in a hurry, the corners of Suchanga's mouth rose upward. At this time, the system's subsidy arrived. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Ding. You sent a Hui Yuan Dan. Tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This critical hit multiplier, 170,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Tianxin de Huan Dan. Suchanga just took a brief look and left here immediately. At the same time, you a peek over the hut. Somehow, Zhang Zongbao's right eyelid suddenly jumped, and he felt as if he had lost some great opportunity, and an inexplicable haze enveloped his heart. He thought about it for a long time, and he didn't figure out why this was here. In the end, it was all about to be done. On the other side, Suchanga quickly bought some oranges at the bottom of the mountain and took them all the way back to the front of the hut. At this time, Huang Jiolong and the others were not boxing, but sat on the ground, calmly waiting for Suchanga to buy food and come back. Seeing that he had returned, Zhang Zongbao's eyes lit up, and the haze in his heart disappeared a lot, and he shouted, "Little transparent, take it." Su. Changzinger flicked his palm and threw it directly. Zhang Zongbao didn't care so much, opened the bag and ate it. Hu Han and several of them also came over and began to eat these fruits. They had been fighting for so long, they had long been tired of fighting, and I wished that Su Chang'e hurried to give them filial piety and some fruits to quench their thirst. Zhang Zongbao gobbled up 2 or 3, turned around and pointed at Su Chang'e's nose and pointed at him, "Shao transparent, I can tell you, no matter how much you please me, I will definitely kill you." Su Chang'e smiled, "You are casual." Zhang Zongbao wanted to say something more. Suddenly at this moment, on the main peak, the figures of the 8 peak lords suddenly appeared, heading towards their respective peaks. The vast sage coercion swept the sky. The saints carried their hands and fled out one by one. They had already celebrated the sword immortal, it was time to go back. And in the clouds, Lu Wanhong was standing at this time. He had been waiting here for a long time, seeing that the 8 peak lords had finally finished the meeting. He hurriedly bowed and shouted, "Everyone, slowly, I have something to discuss." Yi Qingyao raised her eyebrows. All the peak lords couldn't help but condense their eyes slightly, and turned their heads to look at him. The Lord of Zizhu Peak said, "It turns out to be the chief elder of Tiantai Peak. Say, what happened?" "About the tournament." Lu Wanhong said the point, and then looked around, and said in a deep voice, "This is not a place to speak, please follow the villain to land on the Tiantai Peak and discuss carefully." Lu Wanhong used his position, during this time, to finally collect enough heavenly materials and earth treasures, rare elixirs, and rare stones, and prepared to use them to make good relations with the many peak masters present. Objective: joining forces together to enter the peak lord is bound to open the competition conference in advance. Of course, not including Yi Qingyao. P.S. Thank you for the great God certification sent by Sword. Come, for 2 consecutive days, the thighs are so thick. Crabs. The little author is so excited. Ash often thinks. The tournament, Du Sihai pondered for a moment, already guessing 8 or 9 points in his heart. He also has this intention, but he can't do it himself, and now Lu Wanhong has just become his black hand, and he can't help it. When many peak masters present heard this, they pondered and did not say no. Humph. Law Enforcement Peak Bingyu snorted coldly and said, "Everyone, this matter of the tournament is very important, and we will discuss it with Lord Lu Feng. She is a radical and supports Lu Wanhong. And to support Lu Wanhong is to support Tiantai Peak. Since there is an endorsement from the Law Enforcement Hall, then we should consult with Lord Lu Feng. There is a peak lord who gives face." When the other peak masters heard this, they all nodded one after another. Then, with a few clicks, everyone fell into Tiantai Peak. "Lord Ji Feng, this matter has nothing to do with you, please consciously avoid it." When he arrived at Tiantai Peak, Lu Wanhong glanced at Yi Qingyao coldly, and gave the eviction order with an expressionless face. Yi Qingyao was not rare and left directly. The Qingyun Peak Lord's face sank, and he said angrily, "Lu Wanhong, what do you mean by this?" She has always been close to Yi Qingyao, and seeing Yi Qingyao being cleared at this moment, she had a bad premonition in her heart. Lu Wanhong also did not hide it, and said bluntly, "This matter is not good for her Luofeng. I am afraid that her heart will not be able to withstand it, and she will pass out in fear." Then, without further ado, he led people into a large hall. "This is the Tiantai Peak Assembly Hall." After the peak lord sat down, Lu Wanhong ordered people to serve tea, and then brought out one gold treasure box after another, and gave a box to each peak lord present. Thank you for your exaltation, a small gift, no respect. Lu Wanhong's words are hidden. These peak lords present are all saint-level powers, naturally they will not be moved by the treasures, but with the ice concubine in this pestle, they are not good at tearing their faces, so they have to bear it. Seeing that everyone accepted the gift, Lu Wanhong said the key point in a deep voice, let you come over today, if nothing else, maybe the grudge between my Tiantai Peak and Lihua Peak, you have also heard about it in private. Then the villain said bluntly, the villain wants to unite with you. Consult the sect master together, and open the tournament in advance. I don't know what you think. This came out. The air suddenly fell into a cold silence. A little later. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. The Peak Lord looked at each other, shook his head repeatedly, and said, the sect master won't necessarily listen to us. Last time you took someone to find the sect master, we actually heard a little, so this time. A master battle faction said, it just so happens that many disciples under this seat are already impatiently waiting for the tournament, and this contest conference will open sooner or later, so what is the difference between opening it early and opening it when the time comes? Just opened it in advance. Makes sense. Another peak master nodded and said, anyway, our disciples can't fight the disciples under the sect master's seat, so why care about his time? The peak lord who spoke first stopped talking. That's right, many of the disciples under the main seat of the peak present are definitely not as good as the disciples of the main peak, that is the core of the sect. Every person who goes out is a figure who oppresses the world. Sword Immortal, Land Sword God, Peerless Swordsman, Red Dust Swordsman, which one goes out is not the sight of Megatron. Who else do I leave behind? The Peak Master of Qingyun Peak sneered and said, Lu Wanhong, you really took great pains to deal with Lu Wafeng. Lu Wanhong didn't care either, flicked his sleeves, and sneered at each other. Who is my apprentice Huang Jiulong? That is the peerless Tianjiao of all eternity, the dragon and phoenix among people. If Shao Transparent provokes him, then he has to die. The Qingyun Peak Lord's face was difficult to see the extreme, and he was worried about Su Chang'e in his heart, and he didn't speak with a sullen face. This time, Lu Wanhong made such a big battle, if he really advised the sect master to open the tournament in advance, by then Chang'e's kid would be fierce. Thinking of this, her face became more and more ugly, and she got up directly and flicked her sleeves away. All the way. Lu Wanhong laughed viciously, ignored her, and continued to discuss with everyone. Du Sihai looked at Lu Wanhong, only feeling that this person was getting more and more pleasing to the eye, and it was really a correct decision to promote him at that time. Most importantly, Huang Jiulong under his seat really surprised and delighted himself. It didn't take long for everyone to finish deliberating. In the end, everyone nodded and agreed to join forces and consult the sect master. Well, if that's the case, then without further ado, please follow the villain to the main peak. Lu Wanhong's face was full of red light with excitement. He could definitely persuade the sect master this time, right? Immediately, everyone took a step and headed to the main peak. As soon as he walked out of the hall, he suddenly saw from a distance on the top of Lihua Peak, the Qingyun Peak Lord and Yi Qingyao were full of anger. And their bodies trembled with anger. Lu Wanhong thought for a while, and immediately understood what the situation was. Su Qingyun Peak Lord had already reported this matter to Yi Qingyao. He smiled coldly, and his heart was happy. But at this moment, 5 figures streaked across the Lihua Peak and flew towards this side. Lu Wanhong fixed his eyes and looked at it. It turned out to be Huang Jiulong, Zhang Zongbao, and the 5 of them. And behind them, Little Transparent strolled over. Apprentice, you came just right. Go to the main peak with the master. As soon as Lu Wanhong saw Huang Jiulong, he immediately raised his eyebrows and laughed. Who is that apprentice? 18 Cave Heavens, 10 Trembling Dao Sounds. Who dares to provoke? Who dares to be disrespectful? The so-called master and apprentice, the more he looks at Huang Jiulong now, the more doting he becomes. And the reason why Huang Jiulong came here was because he had just seen the clouds. Lu Wanhong greeting many peak lords, and his heart sank, and he expected it. However, he shook his head vigorously. The secret path would never be like this, otherwise this mother would really have poured 800 lifetimes of blood mold. On the side, Zhang Zongbao, Hu Han, Sikong Tu, and Wang Wei also expected something, so they made sure. It just so happened that at this time, Su Chang'e also came here. Lu Wanhong glanced at Su Chang'e contemptuously. His chest was high and straight. He had a look of courage in the world, and laughed triumphantly. Little Transparent, see it? With so many peak lords going to consult the sect master, the tournament can definitely start in advance, and when the time comes, this seat hopes that you will not be afraid. As soon as I heard this, the spirit of the 4 Sikong Tu suddenly stood up. He couldn't wait to kill Xiao Transparent for a long time, but unfortunately, he couldn't make a move. Lord Lu Feng, this is to clear the way for everyone. Thinking of this, the 4 of them looked at Su Chang'e with a sinister smile, rubbing their fists and eager to try. Only Huang Jiulong's face suddenly changed. His face turned pale as if he had been struck by lightning, and he shouted, "No! Master can't." Lu Wanhong was stunned and wondered, why not? Don't you want to kill Xiao Transparent? Huang Jiulong's heart is so anxious, he is about to cry, and he is really afraid of what will come, and such a stupid fork master is really his mother's 800 lifetimes of blood mold, and he can't wait to rush up and hack him to death with a sword. But this is absolutely impossible. He felt a deep sense of humiliation, and then looked at the peak lord of the venerable saint level behind him, and he felt a sense of powerlessness as if he couldn't touch the sky. It was really a big blood mold. Master, it's not a secret, I have recently experienced stubble in my cultivation, and my body is in trouble, and when my injuries heal, it will not be too late to start the tournament. A weak voice came out of Huang Jiulong's mouth. There was a faint cry in the words. Lu Wanhong was so conceited that he didn't notice his crying at all, and said, with a smile on his beard, "It doesn't matter if your body is sick, when the martial god altar is held, don't you just use a holy soldier?" The competition platform of the Taishan Dao sect is called the martial god altar, which is extremely majestic, and it is precisely used for the competition conference. Huang Jiulong cried on the spot. Such a master on the stall can simply kill the popularity. Lu Wanhong then smiled and said, with the holy soldier in hand, even if the body is sick, can that little transparent still be your opponent? Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. In a word, Huang Jiulong directly blocked what to say, sighed, and choked his words. Du Sihai took out a pill from the storage bag at this time, came over, and said lovingly, it doesn't matter if the body is sick, this thing is a solid essence cultivation pill, specializing in treating injuries caused by cultivation errors, take it and take it. Huang Jiolong looked at this pill with complicated eyes, and saw that it was an emerald green pill, about the size of a glass ball, and its body exuded a rich and pure breath, smelling it, and suddenly felt refreshed and transparent. Under normal circumstances, Huang Jiolong would be ecstatic. But now, he stared at this pill, feeling that it was like a talisman about to send himself to the guillotine. Turning his head again, he looked at Lu Wanhong, whose chest was so straight that he couldn't be straighter, and he was angry and wanted to die. You really have your tail cocked into the sky when you step on a horse. Do you know that if I am exposed, you will also be implicated? Just like the 8 or 5 guys who are still stupidly dragged, I have never seen you like this. Huang Jiolong was aggrieved in his heart, and his face turned red and white. Apprentice, quickly accept the elixir. Du Sihai saw that his face was wrong, thinking that it was caused by his illness, so he got closer again. Huang Jiolong looked at Du Sihai, who was full of concern, and the thousands of words in his heart finally turned into a long sigh, alas. He took Guban Peixin Dan, ah. He shouted to the sky, took the road, and ran towards his residence. Du Sihai only felt inexplicable. Lu Wanhong was the same, looking at his back from afar, not knowing what to do. Su Chang'e said with a smile, don't worry, I will never be afraid, I wish you good luck. After speaking, without saying a word, he left directly. Lu Wanhong said angrily, die to the end of the mouth hard, tell you, you can't jump twice. He doesn't entangle, waiting for the tournament, he doesn't believe that Xiao Transparent can still bounce up. Directly flicked his sleeves and said, everyone, follow me to the main peak. Phew. Phew. One by one, the figures went to the main peak. On Lihua Peak, Su Chang'e had not yet reached the place, and he was cut off by Yi Qingyao halfway. Yi Qingyao's face turned pale, and she said worriedly, apprentice, so many peak masters have all dispatched this time, look at this situation, if you really persuade the sect master, how good is this? She could imagine that once the tournament began, the apprentice would be miserable. Although that stepping cloud heavenly horse is very strong, it is not worth mentioning in front of Huang Jiolong, who has a holy soldier. Who can stop Huang Jiolong? The peak master of Qingyun Peak also retreated, his face was full of bitterness, and his heart was worried, and said, Chang'e, alas, you kid, why did you provoke Huang Jiolong in the first place? I am not afraid of 10,000. Now, just in case, Aunt Qing's heart. Alas, a heart-wrenching. The lord of Qingyun Peak is named Guqingge, and he is in a nervous mood at the moment, and he pinched 2 handfuls of sweat for him. Chu Shui quickly heard the news and rushed over, his face was like an eggplant beaten by frost, and he panicked, and said, Junior brother Su, you have no cultivation, if you don't team up with me, Zhang Zongbao should not treat you for my face, when the time comes, I will ask him to persuade Huang Jiolong, should, Su. Chang'e just smiled and did not answer. And Ji Shenyu in the wooden building in the front mountain also quickly learned the news, and in addition to worrying, somehow he suddenly looked forward to it. I don't know if senior brother has cultivated in the end. After the incident last time, she guessed that Su Chang'e did not cultivate. But this can't explain how he blocked the demon beast for his brother. There are many doubts, and it is impossible to say. Thinking of this, she walked out of the wooden building and came to the small courtyard. Enter the courtyard. I saw that Master Zun and Master Mother were preparing some things for Senior Brother to use in the competition, all kinds of weapons, knives and guns, pill, armor, demon beast helpers, and their hands were all full. Xiao Gij, this is a big tonic pill for returning to the heart. When you are physically exhausted, you will eat one. Shui Hongyao was in a low mood, took out her inventory, and gave it to Su Chang'e. This time the heart tonic pill is a family foundation that she has treasured for a long time, belonging to the prefecture-grade elixir. The medicinal effect is very strong, and it can instantly replenish a large amount of blood qi for the cultivator. As for the demon beast on the side, it was Stepping Cloud Tianma, who was carrying 2 wooden boxes on his back at this time, which were full of pills that replenished qi and blood, as well as some temporary outbreak pills. Although the temporary outbreak belongs to the promotion of seedlings, and is harmful to the human body, but at this time the situation is urgent, they can't care so much. If Su Chang'e can successfully survive the competition, then find a way to remove the sequelae left by the temporary outbreak for him. Chang'e, Aunt Qing's 2 sleeves of clear wind, there is nothing to give you. Only this sword is more brilliant, it is a Xian-level divine weapon, you take it. Gu Qing'e generously gave away his most precious weapon. Su Chang'e took it and said, Aunt Qing's kindness, Chang'e will definitely repay it in the future. Alas! Gu Qing'e let out a long sigh, not knowing how to answer. Whether this child of Chang'e can survive the competition is still unknown. And how can he repay it? She just thought about it in her heart and couldn't bear to say it. Seeing this scene, Ji Xingyu sighed, and a wave of worry surged in his heart. And this armor, Shui Hongyao took out another piece of onyx chain mail and draped it over Su Chang'e. This thing has extremely strong defense, the knife cannot be broken, and water and fire cannot invade, but you should not take it lightly, you must be careful. Yi Qingyao suddenly said in a deep voice, Master Mushang, otherwise, in the middle of the tournament, once he is in danger, we will strike immediately. What do you think? The corner of Shui Hongyao's mouth twitched violently, meddling in Dabi without authorization. This is a violation of the rules of the sect. If the sect master is angry, you and I have to. Yi Qingyao interrupted directly and said slashed, I can't care so much. Tian Tai. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Peak. Huang Jiulong stumbled all the way back to his residence, his eyelids jumped. His mind was restless, and his soul was about to be lost. He rummaged through the boxes and cabinets, quickly packed up his things, and prepared to sneak away. For him, the tournament was undoubtedly jumping into the fire pit. How could he obediently tie his hands? Once the matter of him impersonating that peerless Tianjiao happened, it would attract extremely terrifying thunder rage. As soon as he thought of this, he snorted fiercely, his face was as pale as earth, and he was terrified. Soon, he finished packing up his things, and walked outside with a hidden breath. Just after walking less than 2 steps, he suddenly remembered something. Again, turned back, and said, My immortal blood. He said, looking at the ceiling. You can't lose this thing, this is a heavy treasure obtained in the Longtan mountain range 10 years ago, which can make people immortal, and they are reluctant to use it all the time to press the bottom of the box, and they can't be left here in vain. Without nonsense, immediately flew up and approached that piece of ceiling. Only at this moment, the ring on his hand suddenly fluctuated, and the figure of Yunhua Fairy appeared. Seeing him flustered, Yunhua Fairy asked, Why are you going? Huang Jiulong was stunned, and hurriedly said, Master, the big thing is not good. That matter is afraid that the east window incident will happen. When? Will it be better if you don't leave it this time? He explained what had just happened as quickly as possible. Yunhua Fairy listened, his pupils froze, but he quickly turned into indifferent and said, Don't be afraid, on the martial god altar, I will protect you. Protecting me? Huang Jiulong's face was delighted, but he quickly sank his head and said, No, I can't cultivate first, and I don't have a holy soldier in my second hand. What should I do if that true peerless Qinjiao appears? Don't be afraid, I'll just take action on your behalf then, and others won't see me. Yunhua Fairy said unhurriedly. In fact, making a move is only second, she mainly wants to stay and see who that peerless Tianjiao really is. Then, turn to assist him. As for Huang Jiulong, protecting him this time is the last reward, and it should be worthy of his awakening grace. At this time, she also counted the ceiling and saw the bricks inside. Then he couldn't bear to hit Huang Jiulong and said, Don't touch that, you can't use it with me. Huang Jiulong didn't hear the voice, and hurriedly hugged his fists, and said, Then everything depends on the master. Yunhua Fairy sighed and did not answer. P.S. Thank you, Huiping, who loves to eat 5-kernel crisp, for the milk tea. Nigo crumbs the love scent, and Tonidas in the rough stone area, sent by the reminder, crab and crab gifts, crabs. Little author Gray often thinks.